So as we continue through this season of Lent, now this fifth Sunday, as we approach ever closer, the week, the most holy week, and then the Holy Triduum, where we really enter into the Paschal mystery, the suffering, the death, the resurrection of our Lord. And then we celebrate that great octave of Easter, where we truly enter into the new life for which we had been preparing for. And that is the reason why we have this season of Lent, to prepare ourselves, to prepare our hearts, to fully enter into this Holy Week. So we have one more week to truly prepare for next weekend is Palm Sunday, that day of great rejoicing, when Jesus, the Messiah, the Son of David, enters into Jerusalem, and he's greeted with great adulation, great cheering. But soon it turns. And Jesus is inviting us in these last days of preparation to walk with him in those final days, in that week, that Holy Week that is coming soon. And so we have these wonderful readings. For the third time, we have this long reading from St. John's Gospel, where each week we have this deepening, this revelation of the person of Jesus Christ and who he is and what he has come to do. If you remember 2 weeks ago, we had the woman at the well, where we saw Jesus to be manifested as that living water who quenches our thirst, who knows our lives, who knows our sin, who knows our weakness, who knows our wounds, and he comes to us. And with gentleness and with love, walks with us to healing. And last week, we had that healing of the blind man, where Jesus revealed to us that he is the light of the world. That as the consequence of sin, we're all walking in blindness, in darkness. Where St. Paul says that we were darkness, but now with Christ we are the light. That Christ, through our baptism, has brought us from the darkness of sin to the light of life in the Spirit, and is in this new life that we're all called to live. And then today, maybe the culmination of this revelation, we get to see who Jesus is in his fullness. That Jesus brings the dead back to life. This is what he does. This is what he has come to do, to bring that which is dead back to life. We know from St. Paul that the consequence of sin is death, and that death entered the world in the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve first turned their back on their promise. But Christ has come to set us free from the chains, the slavery of sin, from the death of sin. Christ has called us out of the tomb, called us into life. And the question that he asked Martha is the question he asks each one of us. Do you believe? Do you believe that he can do this? As you spend these days of preparation in the season of Lent, and these last couple of weeks truly in this desert of isolation, hopefully you've taken advantage, you have not wasted this time that the Lord has given us to truly examine your hearts, examine your lives. Where are those caves? Where are those tombs in your life? Where is it that you think there may be a stench that you're afraid to show Jesus? Those are the moments, those are the places. That is why Jesus came. Do you believe? Do you believe what the prophet Ezekiel says? That he will open the graves and have you rise from them and bring you back to the land of Israel. O my people, I will open your graves and have you rise from them. Maybe 500 years before the birth of Jesus, Ezekiel prophesied, predicted, gave this promise. This is what the people were waiting for. Are you? Are we? Are we waiting to be set free from the death that sin has brought into our life? Yes, in our baptism we were set free from original sin and given the Spirit of the living God and became a new creation. But how often have we turned our back on God? How often have we said no? Have we said no to his plan and yes to the selfishness of sin? These last few weeks have been challenging time for us as we've been stripped away of so many of our regular things, what was once normal to us. All the things that we normally do, even do in the church. I've heard from so many of you who are feeling lost because you can't live this Lent the way that you normally have. That your practices of piety and prayer and almsgiving have been cut short. Maybe that's the point. Maybe we get so caught up in what we do that we forget to let God do what he does. In that first reading, he said, I will do it. It's God who does the work. It's God who allowed Lazarus to die, and it's God who called him forth. Yes, we must cooperate with God's grace. If we don't cooperate, we won't be saved. But God does the work. Are we willing to let him? Are we willing to enter into the rest of this season of Lent in quiet and solitude? To enter into those graves, those tombs within our hearts, the brokenness, the abandonment, the addiction, the helplessness, the hopelessness. Jesus is calling out to you today. He's asking you that very same question. Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe?